Before this video starts, I want to apologise. I accidentally recorded all my footage without any sound on my first playthrough. I salvaged what I could by starting again, but anyway, let's jump into the video. Now, we all know there's a bunch of action-based adventure games out there, but in 2014, Ubisoft took a slightly different approach which put a spin on how we cause chaos in video games, and that game is Watch Dogs. 2014 was a big year for gamers. We had new releases for Titanfall, Infamous, Wolfenstein, Destiny, The Evil Within, and loads more, so Watch Dogs had some competition. The E3 demo made it look amazing, but it seemed downgraded at launch, which upset a few fans. Despite that though, I thoroughly enjoyed it to the point where I overlooked the graphics due to the story and gameplay elements, although its repetitive nature did get a bit jarring at times. You play as Aiden Pearce, an expert hacker who worked in the field alongside his old partner Damian Branks, basically Aiden's personal keyboard warrior, and together they successfully committed crimes involving stealing money and data. However, after one of these jobs goes south, they part ways, and not long after, Aiden's family had a hit placed on them which ultimately resulted in the death of his niece Lena, leaving his sister Nicole distraught and his nephew Jax with PTSD. Now Aiden was set with a new goal, tracking down the people involved in his niece's murder and trying to find out who ordered the hit on his family. This isn't easy though, as Aiden's absence and what he is now involved in causes tension within his family, affecting his relationship with Nicole and Jax. So you're kind of having to build bridges again, and despite the seriousness of the situation, there is space for some humorous interactions.
Come on back, okay? I promise I won't freak out on you. Aiden? You're going after that creep, aren't you?
Well,
You're doing it right now. I can't believe you.
it's not like that.
Stop being a hero, Aiden. Let it go.
Let what? Yeah, the call's breaking up. I can't hear you.
No, you can hear me perfectly. You need to stop right now.
Yeah, hello? You still there? Can't hear you. Okay, gotta go.
Ugh!
Not only that, but Damian was back on the radar, and after his leg gets crippled by a gang, he wanted revenge and forced Aiden to help him by kidnapping his sister. So yeah, things weren't looking good for your boy. However, he's not completely alone in this fight. You've got the support of a hired fixer by the name of Geordie, who is probably just as skilled as Aiden and is also your backup for a variety of missions. He's a little on the crazy side though. By the way, fixers are basically hired guns that perform assassinations or data recovery, which is technically what Aiden used to do. You'll run into a lot of these guys during your playthrough. You'll also meet Clara, arguably more knowledgeable in the hacker side of things, and of course T-Bone, the man well known for his blackout, the mass power outage which caused the death of 11 people. You track these guys down as Aiden and hire them to assist you in your journey. In addition to this though, you're supplied with an arsenal of weapons, pistols, shotguns, assault rifles, grenade launchers, you know, the usual Ubisoft roster of weaponry, and you get 4 slots to assign a weapon and culminate your arsenal into a bundle of mass warfare. But that's not all. Given Aiden's background, he has one ace up his sleeve which sets the forefront for the game, the ability to hack, all of which is possible with one click of a button on his phone. With Aiden gaining access to the CTOS information system, he can see everything about anyone in Chicago using the profiler, from things like their full name, age, hobbies, kinks, salary, status, any important access cards they possess, audio logs, text messages, and so on. It's a very useful tool in this venture. There's more to it than just seeing personal details though. You can manipulate the environment to give you the upper hand in a fight. Whether that's on foot or whilst you're driving, you can cause all sorts of commotion. Whilst all these can be done at the push of a button, you may have to do some more subtle things like hacking puzzles. It's essentially linking all the nodes on the screen to gain access to a secured facility. They can be quite fun, but do get harder as you progress the game, as some changes to the puzzle may trigger timers. So yeah, as far as hacking goes, this is as complicated as it gets. This can get a bit boring though, since this is the only procedure used to breach a facility. I think they could have added different ways to exemplify a hack. It's not going to be as realistic since hacking in real life is a lot more complicated than turning a few nodes. But kind of like how GTA do theirs, you know, when you're running those sightseer missions for example, adding a numbers game or memory game would have made things a bit more interesting, I'd say. As you play, you're already expecting the hacking puzzle, you're not going to be caught off guard, which is what I think the hacking elements missed. There are some craftables you can make as well with the items you gather around the city or purchase from stores, like lures, explosives, digital tools, jammers, and supplements like focus. Focus basically allows you to slow down time, allowing Aiden more time to make a decision or improve your accuracy. This can also be used while driving, which makes it kind of similar to Michael and Franklin's ability in GTA 5. Funnily enough though, I barely used this in my first playthrough, not sure why as it's a very useful skill, but I guess I just forgot about it. There are some moments where focus is applied automatically to add a cinematic feel to certain situations, but I will say I regret not using it often. And of course, it wouldn't be a Ubisoft game without a skill tree. Throughout your playthrough, you'll be able to upgrade your hacking capabilities, driving, combat, and crafting skills. You may find some are essential based on your playstyle and you may neglect others, but as you do missions, it'll give you a clearer image of what you should be choosing. Like for me, I had to get that helicopter disruption upgrade. Cops in general are hard to shake, in fact they can be quite brutal, but choppers make it much harder. They are really annoying during missions, so disabling them for a longer duration was needed. But finishing the game alone won't be enough to max everything out, so you have to do some side activities for some extra skill points. That's if you want every upgrade anyway. Due to Aiden's ability to manipulate technology, not all hacking processes are lethal. It can be as simple as taking control of cameras, getting a lay of the land and helping plan your attacks accordingly by seeing enemy patrol patterns and so on. It's nothing difficult, but you do find yourself using cameras to assist allies in escaping an area, so you may operate with urgency at times. And of course, this reduces face-to-face engagement. Some missions require you to steal data by hacking into a server, and Aiden doesn't necessarily need to be in the room for that. You can do it remotely and control not just security cameras but body cameras too, as some rooms can only be accessed at certain angles, hence why scouting security walk patterns is also a good idea. And if all else fails, you can just run away. Aiden has unlimited stamina and adopts this tempo run style, man on a mission type of run. But there is that flexibility. You don't necessarily need to kill everyone during an objective, you can just dip out. The missions were great. There's 40 in total, which puts Aiden in a mix of situations so he can utilize all of his strengths in hacking, combat and driving. Some missions will require you to evade or chase down suspects, without blowing yourself up obviously, stealth into restricted areas to steal information, escorting allies and liberating an area from a gang too. Let me just tell you though, the last mission is crazy, it had me moving like this guy for most of it. Now I think there's 2 or 3 missions which require you to move or drive stealthily, but other than that you've got free reign to approach a mission however you like. Guns hit really hard in this game. Most regular enemies aren't bullet sponges like the ones in The Division, except for the really heavily armoured dudes which may require a bit more than bullets to take them down. But in general, most enemies can be taken out in just 3 or 4 bullets, so if your last ditch effort is all guns blazing, you can expect to take enemies out with ease. Although Aiden himself is a bit of a glass cannon, you don't have a health bar, so you kind of have to gauge when to hold off and get back into cover. That's why mixing your hacking capabilities and gunfire is the best option for most engagements. But again, if you're good with stealth, you'll rarely find yourself in a sticky situation. Cause I'll be honest, for most missions, whilst they do have some elements of variation, they revolve around the same sort of structure, if that makes sense. Like go to this area, steal this, sneak into this building, download that, save this person, then escape yourself. Different objectives, but it's the same sort of process Aiden goes through. Again, with hacking being Aiden's trump card, he has to be in a built up area to utilize it. You'll never find yourself stranded in an open area or forest with no technology in sight. You'll always have that around you, which can make the mission seem a bit repetitive, because there are only so many things you can blow up and manipulate. They've obviously answered this with Watch Dogs 2, there are a few more tricks you can pull off in that game which is nice, but maybe removing the ability to hack and resorting to fundamental methods would have made for some nice variation. You know, seeing how the character behaves without their trump card. Nonetheless, I still enjoyed my entire 15 hours playing this game, and I really liked how they did Aiden's character. He's a vigilante, yes, and wasn't necessarily a good guy in all this either, but I like how he isn't the shoot first, ask questions later kind of guy. He can be just as intimidating by letting people know what he's capable of to get them on side. I think the last thing he wants is to get anyone killed unnecessarily, so it makes sense as to why he takes this approach. You know, the mind games, making people paranoid, making them choose between 60 years in jail, or spilling the tea on their potential threats. His ultimatums were always the preferred for the people he interacted with, and I think this provides a clear indication that he's been in the game long enough to know what he's doing. He's got the right words, the right approach to always make himself seem one step ahead. And whilst mostly being on the serious side, his mistakes do end up being quite funny, like mistaking the identity of one of his contacts.
Bad boy.
What?
Bad boy.
17. What the fuck, man?
The villains you encounter are great too. I've already mentioned Damien, but from enemies like Iraq, the leader of the Viceroy's gang, and Quinn, the leader of the South Chicago Club, They're on the serious side too, which gives the story quite a dark representation. It was gritty, grim, and upsetting, given that Aiden's family has been through a lot and will continue to do so throughout the game. And at times you will come up against other hackers who possess the same skills as you, and your ability to keep up will be tested. But what happens when you beat the game? Well, you can clean up the map, I guess. For starters, CTOS towers. They basically act in the same way as bell towers do in the Far Cry games, except instead of climbing your way up, you kind of hack your way through these to unlock the door and reveal additional activities in the area. They can be quite tricky, you may spend a bit more time on some than others. Some made me try climb unreachable areas, resulting in me getting stuck doing the gritty dance move. Shout out to Alan Davis, it seems like Aiden's a fan as well. And I was actually stuck on another one for so long trying to find out how to get onto this roof. It turns out all I had to do was drive a car onto the shipping container, then drive off the roof. Confusing, yet so simple. Or they can be as simple as playing the slot machine, chess, poker, an alternate reality phone game called NBZN to earn some extra cash. Or even the shell game, where you can test your memory. I feel like this guy conned me on the second run, you guys tell me if I was wrong here.
Or what?
Make sure you're sure.
Right there.
That is not it. So sorry.
You can even do a cash run, which is basically free running. I was a bit overly cautious here, so excuse the terrible background gameplay, but you get the idea. And of course you can play online. Now during my first playthrough, not one person invaded my session and I tried searching for a match but couldn't get anything. So it's fair to say the game is mostly dead on that basis, but this is to be expected as it's almost 10 years old now. But I did manage to run into someone on my second playthrough. Basically you can invade another player's game and steal data from them as a challenge. I think that's all there is to it, to be honest, but despite that, there's still plenty to do in this game besides the multiplayer, so you're not losing out on too much. I will say though, mixing side missions in with your main story progress is a big plus, as money is not easy to come by, so you need all the help you can get when purchasing new weapons, vehicles and clothing if you wish. The clothing is just sets, by the way, they're not stuff you can buy individually, which is a bit of a bummer, but there's still a hefty selection to choose from. Not only that, but completing side activities opens up a new skill tree filled with unique weapons and vehicles which seem superior to the base ones you get from the game. The side missions aren't just for money and XP, it offers other benefits which is nice. So I'd say if you do play this, definitely play a side mission every once in a while. The unlocks you can get are really helpful. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say on Watch Dogs. It's a very engaging game which takes a new spin on combat with the involvement of hacking, which I think was executed well, but could have done with some other hacking formats to avoid repetition, especially since it's the forefront of the game. But I think it's one of the first games ever to try something like this, being able to manipulate the environment by foot and car, and still utilising the fundamentals of hand-to-hand combat, as well as shooting. It was accompanied by a really interesting plot to show how one fixer job can affect the lives of many in the future. I think Ubisoft did well for the first Watch Dogs installment, but that's all from me. It's been Dre, take care and see you next time.